Let's talk now about some of the polling data for this year's election, because the two candidates have been neck and neck in the national polls and those in the key battleground states, which we're really watching most closely. So to take a closer look, let's bring in CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, so good to see you. And what does the Republican Party look like today?
Hey, Nora, let's talk about that connection between the party and Donald Trump. But first, you mentioned correctly that this race was neck and neck for a while, but it has been moving toward Donald Trump. You heard folks earlier talk about leads. Yes, he has one. He has a lead, albeit a narrow one, in the battlegrounds. And in fact, in our CBS estimates, he has a slight lead in every single battleground state. What does that mean? Well, one of the things it means is that these Republicans are excited to have him as the nominee, and even more so than they were back in 2016. A presidency, strong polling later. You see big numbers saying they're excited. But there's this other dynamic, Nora, and that is the fact that these Republicans, many of them see themselves as part of a movement, as part of the MAGA movement, and that has meant more than just voting. It's meant they want the party to be loyal to Donald Trump. We test that word. And look at these numbers. 86% of self-identified MAGA Republicans say that's very important, and that's much higher than the rest of the party. Well, what does that loyalty entail? One of the things, frankly, is that it means buying what Donald Trump has talked about with regard to the 2020 election. This is a crowd of folks who feel that something's been taken from them. They overwhelmingly, among Republicans and even more so among MAGA, say that Joe Biden did not legitimately win in 2020, and that underpins a lot of that support and a lot of the reasons that they currently think that Donald Trump is being pressured or being unfairly prosecuted throughout this last couple of years, Nora.
And what about J.D. Vance? How do you think that plays in this election?
Well, let me show you this, because it's really important back to that MAGA idea. We tested, before they were picked, some of the possible names, and J.D. Vance, for those who knew him within the Republican Party, was by 4-1 going to be a satisfactory choice. Now, this not sure number, that's going to change in a hurry, right? But there's this other dynamic here with regard to MAGA. The MAGA folks were even more saying in advance that they would be enthusiastic or satisfied with J.D. Vance. He gets that MAGA backing, and as I showed you, that's a really important part. That's the dynamic and controlling part of the Republican Party right now, and that's before he's even started talking to the convention, Nora.
All right, Anthony, thank you. And I think Robert has a question for you.
Anthony, what's your candid take on whether Senator Vance actually helps the Trump campaign? What's your take on whether Senator Vance actually helps the Trump campaign in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan? You study those states. Is this really going to change the race in those respective states or not?
Well, one thing is Donald Trump won 2/3 of white working class voters in 2020. J.D. Vance won them in Ohio in a Senate election, and I'm sure they think he can go out and appeal to that critical voting bloc in places like Michigan, in places like Wisconsin, which if they win, they sort of all but assure Donald Trump's chances. That's number one. And number two, this appears to be a turnout election. So back to this idea of the base, of MAGA. If it's somebody that helps motivate turnout where Republicans and Donald Trump already have an advantage, then that's a double effect that could help.
Anthony Salvanto, thank you so much. You know, Anthony makes such a great point about a turnout election. You know, and here you have an excited Republican Party, and Democrats are in the doldrums.
Democrats are in the doldrums. Up until Saturday afternoon, before the attempted assassination attempt, the Democrats were going into their third week of a convulsive intra-party conversation about how well President Biden could campaign. Should he remain the party's nominee? Many Democrats I've talked to in the aftermath of the events on Saturday say that is going to peter out, that they're no longer going to be worrying about that Biden will be the nominee. But it was a tough stretch for Democrats coming up right on this convention, which will be an amplification of the Trump agenda.